G'day. Sorry, I'm not in my usual location. I'm borrowing the playroom to record this because my daughter's talking on an appointment, and I'm hoping that this picks up my voice and not hers in here. I wanted to talk to you today about what can a kairos moment look like, and I'm not going to say I'm an expert on the kairos moment, but there's a few things that have been brought to my attention recently about how they can look. And for me, in recent years, if I see a message saying this is your kairos moment, to me it means amazing, wonderful things are about to happen. But I received an SMS from someone recently, and I had ministered to them, and they're going through some things, and they said it seems to be a time of chaos. But when I read their message, God was imprinting the word kairos over that word chaos. And I cannot look at that message without seeing the word kairos printed over the word chaos that they had actually used. And it had me thinking back to the first prophetic word I ever received in person, the first personal prophetic word I received, and I didn't even realise till recently what it was. And I was actually going through a massive shift in my life. I was at a Hanukkah event. I'd actually been driving around the city with a great big menorah on the top of my car. Did I have the menorah? I think, yeah, I had a menorah on the top of the car. And then afterwards we went back to one of the other people's, it was a parade, a procession, and we went back to one of the other people's properties just for some fellowship, I suppose. I'm not sure that the Jews would call it that. And there was only, there was my youngest daughter, who was pretty much a bub, and there was only 4 or 5 of us, I think, there. And one of the people there, so I was there with my daughter's father, and we were separated, but it wasn't public knowledge yet. So we were sitting next to each other and pretty much, you know, acting like we were still together. And I guess in a lot of ways I was still being a support to him. We were living together because of the housing crisis at that point. We had no options. I suppose if one of us chose to be homeless, that was the alternative. Far from ideal circumstances, but things were still amicable at that time. And there was an Indigenous minister from northern Queensland, I'm pretty sure he'd travelled from, and he said, you know, do you mind? So I'm guessing they were Messianic Jews, which my daughter's father probably would not have stepped into that room if he'd realised that, because he was modern Orthodox Jew, very, very strict and religious, and absolutely no tolerance for a Jesus message. Anyway, so we're sitting there, and this minister, Holy Spirit came over him, and I could feel it. It was my first experience. Well, not really. I'd been baptized in the Holy Spirit for a couple of months by then, but I was navigating that on my own until that day. So he starts ministering to me. I wish I had the recording, but he was saying this is a kairos moment, and I really didn't get a lot of what he was saying. And I wonder, you know, when you know people who are prophetic, you can't be sure of keeping secrets. I've had one-to-ones, and God's revealed things that no one else has known to me, and it's confirmed. So I do wonder what this person was picking up and what he knew through Holy Spirit, and, you know, confirmed through our body language, etc. But anyway, he was ministering to us, and he ministered very powerfully for about half an hour, and ministered that this was a kairos moment. And I really feel it was my kairos moment, probably more than my daughter's father's kairos moment. And I'll tell you now how that kairos moment looked. By then, we were separated. We lost our rental. So this was 2017. In October 2016, we'd taken on a rental in a really lovely suburb. We had beautiful views, big old property with a lovely big backyard, we had children who'd put planks up in the fruit trees and climb them and stuff like that in my childcare business. A big house. We had an art studio downstairs for me and a massive rumpus room for the older girls, and 3 bedrooms upstairs, 2 bathrooms, big kitchen, big living area, plenty of space to run the childcare business, but for the family to be comfortable as well. We lost that. We'd been told we would have it for 4, 5, 6, 7 years, but the owners decided to sell it. We lost the property. We were threatened with homelessness for quite a long time after that, and were living in substandard conditions for quite a long time after that, but it was all part of God's process. I was running childcare, so I lost my business. He was running a business from home, so he lost his business. When we started to look around for other properties, we realised with the housing crisis, there was next to nothing that we could afford. Ultimately, so we were given a flat by a friend that was extremely affordable, but it had rising damp halfway up the walls. It was only a 1-bedroom flat and very small at that. We were there for about, 5 months, 6 months. Not even that, actually. We're only there for a couple of months because by Christmas I was moving up to the West Coast, and I took 5 truckloads of stuff with me. And when I came back 6 months later to the city, I brought back 1 trailer and a car full of stuff and left everything else behind, gave it away up there. Sold some things, but there wasn't much money in that area. There were people desperate for furniture and household effects, but had not a cent to pay for it anyway. It was a really destitute part of Australia. I then proceeded to, I was going to say go from rental to rental, but I was already partway through that process. I've been through something like nine moves in 6 months with the next move. God positioned us right before COVID at Belreef Beach, which was just beautiful, and that's where those of you who've been with this ministry a while would remember me walking up and down the beach while I ministered to you. It was a really lovely spot, and I stayed with that landlady when I moved house as well. She gave me the big rental where I started up my childcare business again. And that's when God started to rebuild me. So I really just felt it was important to share this experience to point out that, you know, a kairos moment can be something really amazing. It can be your marriage, your God-appointed marriage. It could be the birth of a child. It could be the birth of a ministry. And if you haven't done so already, do check out my birthing message. But often our first experience of a kairos moment is devastating loss. Loss of loved ones, loss of relationships, loss of status, loss of money. You know, I'd lost a lot in the lead up to that kairos moment and lost a lot more as I walked through it. And it was probably about a 12-month process of me losing my husband, my household effects, almost every cent from my bank balance, because I was traveling across the state several times a week sometimes to make sure that I was spending time with my teenagers, renting bed and breakfast through winter because it wasn't safe to do a day trip to the city, so that we could have weekends together in the city. It was a massive stripping away, and when it was over, God began to slowly rebuild my life and put it back together in a way that suited Him. And really, even the couple of years following that, He was just helping me to navigate life. I wasn't really getting ahead. I did very well in the new family daycare business, but the massive money I was making was all going on private school fees for my special needs daughter. So I just want you to be encouraged that even if you feel like you're losing everything, even if nothing seems to be going the way you had hoped, dreamed, and envisaged for your life, this is God's will. And a kairos moment it's a moment in time designated by God, and I don't think that it's possible to avoid your kairos moment. I believe that when God designates a kairos moment, come hell or high water, you're going to walk through that. It's a gate, it's a place of birthing. It's part of your process to close off one season and prepare you for the next. But not just an ordinary season, it's massive. It is massive. You will come out, God's just showing me that you come out of a kairos moment baptized. You do come out of that kairos moment baptized because it is a birthing process. And when you've been through that first one where everything is stripped away, so long as you're sensitive to God's leading, so long as you do make every effort to be obedient to God's leading, it only gets better. And God starts to build. He starts to lay down a solid foundation. He's had to strip away. When you build a house, you don't build the house on the soil that's there. You dig away, you take away the soil until you find bedrock, or you pour a massive slab that's going to do a similar job to having bedrock underneath. You know, it allows the building to be stable as it floats on the soil if you can't drill down or dig down to bedrock. And that's what God does, is he removes all that stuff, that detritus, so that he can lay down that solid foundation and start to build. And he might build a little bit on here and you'll think you know where he's going, and then he takes that away and says, no, I've got something bigger and better, and let's replace that with this. But I do want to assure you that when you choose to be sensitive to God's leading and you choose to be obedient to God, you can't go wrong. Have a look at a baby in the womb. As they're being delivered, they can't go sideways. Yeah, they might twist, they might come out feet first, and it's not very comfortable, but they can't choose a different way to be birthed. There's no other exit from the womb. You will be birthed through that process. You can't go wrong. Don't think you're going to do something wrong. God takes us out of our hands. God separated me from my husband, and I know there's a lot of Christians out there who would really reject a message like that, but I can guarantee you that that was God's hand, nothing but God's hand, separating me from my husband in 2017. It was a very supernatural process, and I acknowledged to him at the time there is nothing that he or I could have done to keep that marriage together when God decided to pull it apart. In retrospect, I can see God's logic. We were observing modern Orthodox Judaism, and he could not have used me these past, 6 years in this ministry if I was submitting to a modern Orthodox Jewish husband. It just wouldn't have happened. I wonder how my health would have been if I'd stayed in that marriage as well, to be honest. But yeah, I really hope that this message encourages you. And I know that many of you are going through really, really, really difficult things. And I want to assure you that God is with you. If you're prayed up, you can have every confidence that you are in alignment with God's will. Even if you're going through that birthing canal, you are in God's will, as uncomfortable as it is. If you're not confident that you're prayed up, I am leading a group through the Silencing the Accuser bloodline prayers starting on Tuesday the 24th. For the United States, it will be Monday the 23rd. Email me for the details. It's on my Facebook group as an event. Get yourself those details. There's no charge for it. It's always a blessing for me to lead others through that prayer process. And once you've been through that prayer process, you will see that you are very confident that you're all prayed up, and you will be able to face opposition with curiosity. Okay, God's allowing this. Why is God allowing this? Or you will feel the authority to pray against it. however God leads you, but you will go forward a lot more confident having prayed those prayers. All right. God bless you.